This conference will now be recorded.
5 seconds. You're live.
Good evening, everyone. This is the July 10, 2024 meeting of the Auburn Conservation Commission. This meeting is being operated as a hybrid format under Chapter 22 of the Acts of 2022. The public can join the meeting remotely by telephone by dialing 1-408-650-3123 and then entering access code 942-845-549. Or you can join via computer at global.gotomeeting.com/join/942-845-549. So materials for tonight's meeting have been provided to the commissioners, and they're also available on the town's website, and the public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. My name is Michael Garland. I'm chairman of the commission. Before we start, let me get a roll call of members that are here for tonight's meeting. Tom Fallon. Here. Michelle Colross.
Here.
Megan Langley.
Here.
Jesse Recca.
Here.
Okay. And so, without further ado, the first item on our agenda tonight is 7 p.m. public hearing by Dr. Syed Ali Tahir, a notice of intent for property at 0 Cemetery Road to convert a vacant lot into a new cemetery. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 So, it's not clear to me if anyone's going to appear on behalf of Mr. Tahir. At our last meeting,
Chairman, Todd Curtin from Ty and Bond. I wanted to call in,
well, perfect.
if it's okay, just to give it, just to give a quick update. Thank you for having me. And I have a bad connection, so I don't know if I'm coming through okay, but I won't turn on my screen.
You're a little scratchy, but we can hear you.
Okay, so we attended we were at the planning board last night for planning board approval. The meeting went well, but they received third-party review comments from Graves Engineering. It came in late Monday, so those comments have been received by the planning board and us, and we're in the process of responding to them, and some of them are just straight up a quick comment response, and then a couple tweaks, I think, on our plans. But I don't think there was anything major overall. And again, I think the meeting last night went very well. And in fact, the way I understood things is if we reply and get our address the comments by Graves, their next meeting is 4 weeks from yesterday. I think that's August 13th. And we're planning on being there for that. I think if everything's addressed, that I think we get planning board approval, or at least the site plan approval at that juncture. And I think that corresponds to when we probably would want to be in front of the commission again, based on the comments we received last time.
All right, so you think you'll be getting planning board approval in August?
Yes.
So I believe then you're asking to continue the public hearing in this matter to our, I don't know when we meet in August.
Let's see. Maybe I'll be It would be August 14th, so the day after that planning board meeting.
So how does August 14th sound?
How about the,
That sounds good.
Okay, so I mean, do you think you can get, because I know in reviewing the minutes from our June 12th meeting, that you were going to provide us with the comments from the planning board. Obviously, we'd like to see the peer review by Graves and any response that you provide to them. So do you think there'll be a sufficient time to provide those to us by August 14th?
I do. If something changes, I will let you know. And I am curious, actually, now that you mentioned that, as far as we didn't get any actually written comments from the planning board. I'm curious if they do give us any after last night's meeting. But we'll follow up on that, and I'll get back to you. But for now, I definitely would like to say that we will be there on August 14th.
Okay. Do you,
yeah, I need to address that now because
all
I
right,
won't be
so,
here for August 14th.
Mr. Curtin, we have, one of our members has questions for you.
Sure.
This would
Okay.
be Michelle.
Hi. So,
Hi.
in reading this, how much non-clean fill were you planning on actually putting on the site?
Yeah, so the it's what's the term that's used for this kind of soil is less than RCS1 soil. And it would be less than 100,000 cubic yards. You know, we don't have a full number, but probably in the 80 to 90,000 cubic yards. That's needed to raise the grades, and then the clean material that's used as the for the cemetery and going down the slope towards the road.
Okay, and when you go to page 4.4, it says what those materials are, or what you're showing in them. There's some of them, like, it looks like in the mid-range, there's gonna be glass, large wooden beams, metal scraps, or is that what's already currently there? Of the
No, that's what's currently in there. Yeah, mixed in with the soils that are there that are contaminated on site. Yes.
How often do you believe in a cemetery that that's gonna be disturbed?
So the way our grading is, we're going to be much higher in elevation. The cap is, we won't be disturbing any of the soils that are there now. They'll all be in some cases, very deep. They'll be, without really moving them, we're raising the grades 20 plus feet in some areas to create that plateau for the cemetery. So the existing soils that are contaminated at higher levels than anything that we'd ever be bringing in, they will not be disturbed. In fact, they'd probably be at depths that it's unlikely they ever would be disturbed for any reason.
But you don't know what the soil is that you're bringing in.
Yeah, so the soil we're bringing in is like mildly contaminated soil. It's called less than RCS1. It's unregulated material. It's not material that fits under, it's not from a release site or something that has been contaminated from a condition that Mass DEP has to track. It's like development in urban areas that you have urban fill soil that could maybe have a little bit of coal ash from old industrial practices, or people used to burn stuff in their yards and what they used to use. So that's what it is. It's not from like virgin, undeveloped land, and that kind of soil is sometimes hard to get rid of a little bit, but there's a policy that Mass DEP has. It's called a similar soil provision policy, and you can bring in that kind of unregulated type of soil if your site has similar concentrations. We actually have much higher concentrations than what I'm talking about, so it's a beneficial reuse of that kind of material to raise grades. And then on top of that, in the cemetery area, there would be 8 feet plus of clean stuff. So there would never be any disturbance, even of that less than RCS1 soil.
Okay. That drains off into Stoneville Reservoir. And it says that it's not gonna be filtered. And I understand that there wasn't a problem in 2022, and that you don't anticipate a problem moving forward. But what if there is? Like, who's responsible for that? The town of Auburn? Or is the doctor going to be responsible for that?
So our stormwater controls and our stormwater design does not allow any of the stormwater, and I'm the wrong person to talk about that. We had somebody else there prior to that we could have maybe attend the next meeting if there's still questions on it. It's fully controlled. Like we're not draining. I mean, we're not really bringing much for impervious surface other than the driveway, sort of the roundabout road that's for the cemetery entrance going, up to the top, where folks can drive in and park on the property. But other than that, for the stormwater, there really wouldn't be much extra than it currently is at the present time. But with that all said, we are actually controlling that stormwater so it does not infiltrate through, really not the RCS1 soil, but just all the way down to the soils that are at depth, that are the contaminated soils on the property. So we're really actually improving conditions there that have, than what's currently been in existence really for 40 plus years, right? Because the dump and the construction debris filling in of that property stopped in the 1980s. and then the property grew in. So it's really just been taking on just typical rainwater or whatever, just goes through and infiltrates. And we're actually making it better in a sense because of the material we're bringing in, and then we're controlling stormwater so it doesn't infiltrate. And it's in detention basins that are lined. But I probably would rather defer to my engineer, my site civil engineer that had the stormwater, that helped with the stormwater report and all the design plans, if there's further questions.
All right. So testing it like once a year, Stoneville, and all the wells that lay below that. And if there's a
So-
problem, it would fall on the owner of the property.
Yeah, so this site is regulated under the Massachusetts contingency plan. It's a release site right now
read that.
because of because the conditions that we have in soil. We also had one detection on one of the groundwater. We have 4 groundwater, about 5 actually, groundwater monitoring wells on the property. One of those wells, one of the shallow wells, near the center of the construction debris former dump area, has a slight elevated hit relative to, when I say slightly elevated, it's relative to drinking water standards. And the reason why we have to compare it to drinking water standards is because the residents to the north and south are both on private wells. We don't have any issues relative going towards either property and towards Cemetery Road. Our groundwater monitoring wells we have in those locations are all okay. They don't have that elevated, that detection. The stuff that we have in soils are metals and what are called PAHs. They bind to soils, and we're not seeing it in groundwater. That's the predominantly contaminative concern for the site is lead in soil. And lead typically doesn't leach out too well in soil, and we're not seeing it. And again, once we actually do what we're doing, it's actually going to make it even better relative to infiltration through. There would be very little interaction, I guess, if you could say, from typical stormwater or rain events, having to get all the way back down to where those contaminants are in the soils that are present, because they're going to be buried pretty deep, you know. So, and we're having some stormwater controls where it doesn't allow that infiltration.
How often?
So long term, yeah, just so you know, we won't have the need, because we don't have a condition in groundwater that's the need for long-term monitoring, put it that way, under the MCP at least. So we're not going to have to do any of that. But we are still in the process that we still have some assessment, a little bit more that we're doing at the property as we gear up for remediation and capping of the site.
How often are you providing test results to DEP?
So right now we had what was the site, after a year of being a release notification, it was a tier classification. We actually have a condition that we're going to be reporting on in later this month or early August, relative to, we sampled the wells again, relative to that one compound I was mentioning. We had sampled the private residence to the south of our dump. The one to the north didn't allow us access, non-detect in the private well, and we don't expect any. They're in bedrock, those wells. We actually have a bedrock well on our site that's next to that problem well, the monitoring well. When I say that was non-detect. So it really is just isolated to the overburdened material. So we will have a report going into as a status report to Mass DEP in the coming month. But more importantly, a bigger report's coming to Mass DEP this fall. More than likely, it's called a Phase 2 Comprehensive Site Assessment, and then a Phase 3 Remedial Evaluation. And then after that, we have what's called a Phase 4 Remedy Implementation Plan. That's after we get these permits, if everything goes through, and that's the plan of, this is how we're going to address this site. This is how we're going to reach a permanent solution. And down the road, we'll have, like I think we mentioned during the previous meeting, is we're going to have an activity use limitation on the property. All it's going to restrict is that no one digs down into those deep soils, the soils that we leave that have contaminated soils down at depth. If anyone does have to do that and disturb it, they just have to be managed properly. So there will be submittals that are public record, and we can always provide in any capacity. We can send you to the link to those. We can send you to the link to the ones that have been uploaded to date. and moving forward all the way through closure.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around something that isn't a problem right now that you've attested to. Bringing 100,000 cubic yards of dirty fill into is going to be bad. For
Yeah, keep in mind this kind of soil, it's not, the reason why it's non-regulated is because it doesn't have the potential to, it's not something that should impact groundwater. It's not something that should make conditions worse. And just as a side note, once we get through the permit process here through the town, it's a privatized program, the MCP, so the Mass DEP does not always have direct involvement in the Bureau of Waste Site cleanup for these kind of release sites, or any release site for that matter, unless they feel the need to step in. We have met with Mass DEP Bureau of Waste Site cleanup last summer, and we do intend to meet with them again prior to going through starting construction, before we start importing or doing anything, because we do want their buy-in. The client wants their buy-in. We don't want something to be called out after the fact by them, do an audit.
Did you just understand?
So there really isn't, to me at least, there's that we would make groundwater worse, or even surface water runoff worse. We're actually should be making it better,
We can take this up at the next
and it's not bad as it is now.
Okay. All right. Any questions from the public? Tom, any questions? Dan?
I just want to, I guess, bring up what I brought up last time, which was about my concerns over like the large amount of knotweed has to be dealt with there. And I think the plan last time that I heard was just to bury it, but I didn't really get any big details, like clear details on that. Like you bury it and then it grows back up through the grass and you just mow it and then don't know what you're doing with. I'm worried about it being like a source of contamination for other areas if those clippings are disposed of off-site, and also, just want to know how that would be managed at the site. So I didn't necessarily expect to have an answer on that today, but there was a mention of you all, coming up with an invasive management plan for that. So I just wanted to bring that up again so it's not a surprise at the next meeting.
So yeah, for invasive species growth for any of the slopes that we create in the areas that are outside the grass, you mean, or?
I mean, the pictures of the site look like it is extremely infested with Japanese knotweed. And you're gonna have to disturb that entire site. And that stuff will grow up through many, many, many feet. Like, if it's buried without a proper type of barrier containment, it will just come back up. And then if you're mowing it, and unless you're keeping all of those clippings on site, you're going to be mass exporting it from that site with the constant mowing that's going on there. So I have concerns about that and how you would manage that and keep it from contaminating other sites outside of the property.
I see what you're saying. Okay. Yeah. I'm probably not the right person to speak to that, and whatever if there's an order of conditions ultimately given for the project. Yeah, we hopefully we could work out the language for that
And
piece.
it's something that you need to consider, because Megan's
Sure.
absolutely right. We know that knotweed is extremely difficult to eradicate, and
Yep.
tried and they have not succeeded. So we don't, we want to see what you can propose to either keep it in check, or what you'll do specifically not to let it go elsewhere. So,
Yep.
so Todd, based on your what you've told us, then you believe that you'll have the information that we need with respect to the planning board by August 14th?
Yes.
Okay. Jesse, do we have any meetings currently scheduled for the 14th?
No, not at the moment.
Okay, so, Mr. Curtin, what we'll do is we'll continue this matter to our meeting on August 14th at 7 PM.
Thank you. Yep.
And if for some reason, if you need, if there's some delay in getting the information from the planning board, let us know and we can continue it to our next meeting in August, okay?
Oh, that sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. All right, thank you. Good night.
Can I have a motion, please?
Have a motion to close the meeting.
No, we're continuing it.
I want it.
I know, we're continuing it.
I make a motion, we continue the hearing for Zero Cemetery Road to August 14th at
7 PM?
7 PM.
I'll second
that.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, it's a vote. Okay. Next item on our agenda is 7:05 public hearing. Marcos Mora requested a determination of applicability for 6 Elizabeth Drive. Is there a motion open?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it's a vote. Mr. Mora. Come on up. So, you recall that, I don't know if we saw your wife though.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah, so we walked your property back in June. Everything appeared to be in order. It appears you have plenty of room to put in your pool. No indication that there would be any sort of wetland impact on it. At least that was my observation.
Awesome.
So, I think we can close the public hearing tonight in this matter. So you'll hear from us.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome. Is there a motion to close?
Make a motion to close the hearing.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, it's a vote. Okay. Now, I have been advised by Mr. Averka that Glenn Kravosky is representing the applicant for the 7:10 public hearing, but Mr. Kravosky is not here.
I have a feeling that he's actually this caller one,
Let's find out.
which I muted him during the last call, or during the last hearing because there was some motorcycle noise going on.
Uh-huh.
And I think, I mean, he's just called in.
Okay, let's find out.
So I'm not sure if he should be able to hear us, but
Caller
I mean,
one.
if you can figure out how to unmute yourself, Glenn, you should be able to. if
Caller
that
one,
is you.
unmute.
Am I there?
Oh,
There we go.
Thank you.
hey Glenn.
So,
There it is.
where are you exactly?
Motorcycle noise. I didn't hear that, but okay.
I don't know.
You're not.
I'm over here on the coast of Key West, and I'm outside the place to eat. But yeah, 7 Mark Ave is, you might see the project description. It's an expansion. It's a spool via this company, Glenn Kowalski from EBT Environmental. They put in, they use spools for underground utilities, all types of utilities, and they've run out of space. This is that commercial location over near the old Consolidated Beverages, you might know, across the street from Motorsport International.
Sure.
It's a dead-end road,
Right.
and it does back up against that pier point. Should I say Pondview, I believe it is.
Okay.
So we kept our work. We delineated the wetlands. I don't have it directly in front of me. I believe it's in the 80s. The building might have been constructed. It's in my project description. We would like a site inspection, as you normally, once open the hearing, we could look at that wetland line. It's an old fill line, and it's evident out there. It drops off quickly. And then there's some natural vegetation, wetland vegetation. Then there's the pond, where we respected your there's a 25-foot no disturbance zone. We would clean up some if need be, and we would show you that some old fill piles that are back there, possibly do some plantings also, but it's a crushed stone bed for spools is what they run out of space to put these spools, and that's what we're attempting to do, is give them more space to keep the client there.
So when would you like us to do the site walk? When will you be back?
I'm going to be back soon, the 13th, so anything that you choose, I'll be there.
Okay, let's see. The 13th is actually Saturday. How about, why don't we, since our next meeting will be July 24th, why don't we plan to visit the site on Saturday, July 20th.
Thank you very much. I'm writing it down. Thank
Does
you.
that work?
July 7/20,
20,
7, I'm sorry, just got the pen. 20th
7:20 and 9 a.m. for the site walk.
at 9 a.m. I have it. I appreciate your time on this. Are there any additional questions before the site walk?
Nope.
All right. Well, thank you very much and have a good evening. Thank you.
You too.
Thanks, Glenn.
Good day, David.
Is there a motion to continue the public hearing for Turnpike Developments LLC to July 24th?
I'd like to continue the hearing until July 24th at,
What time?
That would be, we'll say 7:05.
7:05. Okay.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it's a vote. Okay. Next item on our agenda is the 7:15 public hearing, Timothy Johnson, notice of intent for property at 25 Vinyl Street. I understand that Mr. Johnson has requested that this matter be continued to July 24th, is that right?
Yes, that is right.
All right, can I have a motion, please?
Make a motion, we continue the public hearing to July 24th at
7:10?
7:10.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion?
Is this the only thing that we have on this so far, is just this map? or
Okay,
is
I
there-
didn't know what that was. It was very
We-
random.
I'm assuming that's Vinyl Street, right?
Yeah,
it is.
it's- yeah,
Yeah,
this
so
is the
that's-
only thing I have.
So they wanted to continue because they're finalizing an updated plan and all of their
Was that the thing with
stormwater
like all of the
and,
houses?
Yeah.
And then
Yes.
that was it, like nothing that he wanted to
We,
do?
we did get a notice of intent though. Did you
Okay.
get that?
I don't know, I couldn't find it.
I ha-
Yes.
Well, this is the problem. The applicant is not really here to respond. So, I guess you can ask questions, but I'm not sure what kind of answers we can provide.
Well, you were just talking about continuing Vinyl Street, so that, and then you're planning on adding.
No,
Oh,
no, no.
no. I'm sorry.
Continuing it as in continuing the hearing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Staying into
okay,
next
I thought you
year.
meant continuing
For 2
the
weeks.
street. Okay.
No,
ma'am.
unfortunately, he's not here, so he
If you
can't
have
do the meeting.
questions about it, or if you want to see, the plans that they provide and whatnot, you can contact me. You can give me a call at the town hall. I can, email or whatever works for you.
Okay.
And, we'll be hearing them. They'll be here on the 24th. You're obviously more than welcome to come back too.
Sure.
What's going to happen, how are they gonna get out of that area? And Vinyl Street's sort of a dead end.
Right,
It ends right there.
right.
There are wetlands all down there.
Oh, yes, there are.
Yes.
We are aware.
A lot of wetlands with a lot of, furry friends that live down there.
I'm sorry, did you say furry friends?
Furry friends.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
and coyotes and foxes, all sorts of animals. right?
Sure.
And in the water itself, we have snapping turtles that come up from there like this.
Uh-huh.
And lay their eggs in our yard. Has he addressed that issue? How he's going to make the road a two-way road?
So,
With 84 cars, if he's got 42
these are,
units?
these are great questions.
I'll be coming back.
But the reality is that, since we can't answer those questions, it's best that you
don't
come
know
back
the answers yet.
in 2 weeks. And I think, you can ask all these questions. And obviously, you've thought about it, and I'm sure you have more questions to ask, and these are all great topics. So my suggestion would be that you just, if you can, come back in our next public hearing in 2 weeks.
And what is he, the hearing for? What kind of permit? Is it to knock the house down?
So,
It's down there?
so, ma'am, my understanding is that house is gonna be knocked down, and that it's a subdivision plan. They're gonna put in, duplexes,
I think, I want to say it's
21
21 duplexes.
And so,
42 units.
Yeah, something like that.
right, and so the question is, our jurisdiction is wetland protection, so anything that comes within our jurisdiction, we have a right to question him about it. We have a right to, if we feel that he hasn't proposed enough erosion control or mitigation measures, we can order him to put in more. And so, but they really have not given us a presentation on the project. We expect we'll get that at our next meeting. but I'd encourage you to come here and, you know, ask the same questions that you're asking tonight. Okay, that's great.
What is the map that he gave you?
It's a site plan.
Is it something?
Yes.
And that's online.
Yeah,
that's
that's online, okay.
Yeah, that's on the conservation, if you Google like Auburn Conservation Commission, right?
You know, just give me a call too, and I can, you know, give you all the details, really all the plans, and keep you moving.
Ms. Wietrowski, are you here for Vinyl Street?
Yes, I am. I had the same questions about the road, like how are you going to get 84 cars down that little road?
I think it's a great question. My presumption is that it won't be at the same time, but but we're going to continue the public hearing because the applicant is not here and requested that we continue the hearing. So if you're able to attend either in person or remotely, we would encourage you to do that. Okay? Outstanding. All right, thank you very much.
I have one last question.
Sure.
Are you allowed to fill in wetlands, like to make the road wider? Can you fill it in?
So that's a tricky question. I mean, I would say to you that there are limited circumstances where you can, when you say fill in, that seems a little dramatic to me, but you can, if you do fill in a wetland area, you have to provide mitigation somewhere else. And so
you take 10 feet here, you've got to put 10 feet.
or you have to, and usually we demand or require more. So, you know, I don't know, to be honest with you, if that's being proposed by this applicant. And I take your point about the road being narrow. We've been down there, so we know what your concerns are, and you know we share the same concerns. So.
Well, I have the biggest concern, is my driveway is the last driveway on Vinyl Street.
Okay.
And it butts, you know, and it butts that entrance, so we have the biggest concern with this whole project, along with Parachute. So everything abuts our properties here.
Right.
It affects everything.
I understand.
Yeah.
So, well, again, you'll have an opportunity to ask your questions at the next meeting.
All right.
Okay?
And they have it fenced off, a locked fence. What if there was a fire? What if the house down there put out a fire? How would the fire department get down there?
Well, ma'am, I've seen that house. I'm not sure it would be such a great loss.
But it might affect our houses on the
Ma-
other side.
Ma'am, I can't answer that question. You know.
Somebody should.
I know.
You know what?
That's the planning board, that's the
I
planning board.
think, you know what? That's an excellent. You should contact the fire department.
And the planning board too.
If they don't, then they should have a key anytime someone, you know.
I suspect that's true.
puts on the
On
fence,
that
then they-
map, is there gonna be another entrance on the other side of the property, or is it just going to be the in and out to the Vinyl Street?
I think it's only one entrance. Now,
I'm not sure.
Okay.
but I will tell you that it's customary for, like the fire department, they need, and they will make it a point to, if they need to gain access to the subdivision, and they need certain turning radiuses, and they need a certain width for their equipment. So if they have concerns about what's being proposed, I'm certain that it will be raised. Okay? All right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I think there was a motion to continue the public hearing and there was a second, but I don't think we voted on it.
Yeah, we did.
Did we?
I think I interrupted by
She did.
asking the question.
Well, yeah, she did.
Oh, okay, you're so smart.
Stop. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, it's a vote. All right. Okay, the next item on our agenda is 7:20 public hearing, Eastland Partners, request for determination of applicability
Wherever you want, yeah.
for property at Albert and Blaker Street to make improvements to the intersection of Albert and Blaker Street and portion of Blaker Street. Is there a motion to open?
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, it's a vote. Good evening.
For the record, Travis Brown with Turning Point Engineering, here on behalf of the applicant, Eastland Partners. This is a, which one are we on, Mr. Chairman? RDA.
The idea.
So we have filed an RDA for some work for the reconstruction improvements of the intersection as you come up Albert Street and Blaker Street. We've been in contact with DPW, back and forth with some plans. They've essentially approved this plan. This plan basically lines up Albert Street, which is here on the plan, more in line with the subdivision road that goes up into the larger project. There's some issues with stormwater in that intersection, specifically this corner. There's a low point that's always ponding, so to address that, DPW wanted a dry well in that location. That'll allow stormwater to get in there, but then essentially regrading it slightly, and these slopes are very minimal. It's about 0.75%, basically from a high point here on Blaker Street, and then grading it across the intersection so that stormwater will flow here, kind of to the south, get off the road into a small, only 6-inch deep, it's not a lot of runoff, into a swale that would essentially convey the stormwater to an isolated area, isolated land subject to flooding. So we've located those flags. It's obviously an isolated area. We ran the counts, provided the counts in the RDA. Based on the regulations and the bylaw, that does not have a buffer zone to it. Nonetheless, we have discharged that 25 feet out. Now, depending on where they end up with grades and how exactly that grades, maybe they're in it a little bit. You know, but our intent was to try to keep that away. We're protecting that area with erosion control, silt fence, straw wattle. That would be kind of at the end of the swale and then along the roadway. So with this project, we're not altering any drainage patterns that exist today. Currently, the road's in very rough shape. This road provides access to this duplex here. There's also a house at the end of the road. We're not proposing to do the entire roadway, just the portion through the intersection to be able to get that stormwater out of the public way and into that isolated area. Currently, all that stormwater discharges kind of to a ponding area. Somebody dug some ditches adjacent to it, basically drains it either way into the wetlands. So nothing changes with that respect. We're not increasing impervious area, essentially matching what's there, just replacing that pavement, slight regrade. No utility work from that perspective, aside from just adding a dry well at the request of DPW. So,
Is that plan in here? In
Yeah,
the-
you should have a copy. I think it would have been separate than the actual.
I have
yeah.
this, but this is for the, that's it right there.
that's for the other fund.
No, that's
Yeah.
not. I don't have a copy of it
Reserve.
either.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking that was it.
So. Yeah, we walked the site
Then I don't have it.
back in May. So,
Yeah, that's the site that we kind of went down and looked at
Right.
a little bit. Standing water, obviously in there it's confined, there's no outlet, which meets the definition of ILSF once we provide on the calculations area that
so are you, is the road going to be grinded before new material is put in?
it will need to be pulverized
Yeah.
and replaced. And
Okay.
that material will essentially become the base,
Right.
regrade it, and then you can repave it.
How many cubic yards are we talking about?
Cubic yards of concrete or of asphalt?
Asphalt.
Uh,
I'm just trying to get a sense of the scope of
my
the
math.
project. All right.
Yeah, no. Guess we didn't get that map.
No,
I thought that this was it.
no, that's full.
You're maybe talking a couple hundred yards at 4 inches thick, so a binder course and a top course. If I were to just spitball.
Yeah, it's,
for you,
I'm will hold you to it. So how long would it take for the project to be completed?
About a week is what I'm told.
Okay.
They would like to start at this intersection and then just kind of work through because they don't want to prohibit, there's construction obviously up there.
Right.
Traffic that comes from Blaker Street, so the idea would be to work their way down.
Okay. All right, don't have any other questions. Megan, any questions?
Which one, the land subject to flood, where is that on this map?
Honestly, I don't think it shows on the
It's
GIS
like, it's really
map.
small.
Yeah. There is a wetland system that's over on the other side of this kind of Mass Electric bed. It's at a higher elevation, kind of goes up and over and down. I think the wetland is shown on that. It's on the other side. Yeah. I believe it shows.
I don't have any questions.
Any questions?
No.
Okay. Do you want to, we've had a chance to take a look at it. Do you want to take a look?
I thought with you.
Did you? That's right, you did. I forgot, I'm sorry. You know? In that case, is there a motion to close?
Make a motion to close the public hearing?
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's a vote. Okay. And then the next matter on our agenda for tonight is a 725 public hearing, a notice of intent for property at 26 Albert Street that the continued use of an existing gravel path that continues into Oxford. Is there a motion open?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Oh, great, thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, vote. All right.
So the plan that you do have, so this is the site that we also walked on the same day, and we had previously discussed at the meeting. So this is gravel access path from the reserve project that's currently under construction. Leads to the applicant's property in Oxford. They were using that to transport material back and forth for the projects. That work was outside of the permitted work for the reserve. An enforcement order was issued, so our response to that enforcement order was to prepare what we're calling a restoration site plan, basically what that is going to be during construction, and then kind of the final condition that Eastland would like. There's going to be a pretty large project here, a lot of dwelling units in Oxford. Eventually is going to be the same. The ultimate idea is to create like an 8-foot wide shared use path. That would be a benefit to the communities through there. We would provide a good trail network into Oxford. There's a lot of existing trails that would be part of that design over there. So Eastland's looking to use that for the duration of construction for the reserve. They're stockpiling materials on that site, screening some loam. That was being brought back. They've since stopped doing any activities since we last discussed it. But they are looking to soon try to be able to use that to bring loam back into this project to help stabilize it, start a little past growing season, but coming into fall, get more areas within that project stabilized. So what we're proposing under the construction conditions, which from my understanding in discussions with Eastland, it's about a year away before they're finished with the reserve. So this would be used for about a year, I would say, at the most. So we're proposing an earth berm on this side because this road, although it doesn't get a lot of runoff here, but that tends to go this way towards the wetland to maybe try to berm that up, prevent water from going directly there. There are no wetlands on this southern side. There is a wetland, you can see kind of just the tip of it, 100-foot buffers here, so we're pretty far outside of it. This is Mass Turnpike Authority land. So that trail, as we previously discussed, was existing. It was improved with some material to be able to drive trucks on it. No trees were cut as part of it. Not looking to cut any trees now, using it during construction or in the final condition. So that would be used during construction. At the end of the project, like I said, 8-foot wide shared use path, loam and seed the shoulders, create kind of a bike trail essentially that you can see in the parts. So, that's the proposal. then the existing erosion controls, which were placed, to go outside the 100-foot buffer that you can see here. Beyond that, there's no wetlands until we get way far into Oxford. Then we would add erosion control on this side too during construction.
Do we know, is this wetland connected to something else? Or is it just, is it isolated? Does anyone know?
I believe it's a larger wetland. I don't think it's necessarily connected to anything else. I'd have to go back and look at the original plan.
Okay.
I don't know, probably don't have access to that.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know if we could look at it on GIS, but I think it's just a large area. It doesn't meet the definition of being isolated.
Understood.
Per se.
Oh, sorry, what is the difference between these two? On top versus on the bottom?
Yeah, so top is, this is how it's gonna be during construction, so it'll remain a 14-foot wide gravel access, berm it up to prevent that stormwater runoff, going into the wetland. Kind of pitch it the other way is what we had talked about on site, where there is no wetland.
So-
Then the bottom condition would be the final condition. I just wanted to make it clear,
Okay.
like, we're not just gonna use this and that's the end result. There is an end
Okay.
result.
So if I'm reading this correctly, it looks like at some point you're gonna actually pave this thing, right?
Yeah, they're not married to the idea of paving it, but they thought that would be a good benefit to have that trail
Mm-hmm.
paved. So you could bike back and forth.
Right.
DEP did issue a file number this afternoon.
Oh, I was thinking when you said bike path, I was thinking that you're gonna leave it natural, because, like.
Like a mountain bike path.
Yeah.
It could. Eastland's not opposed to that. They were kind of thinking like a riding trail, like you would get on a rail trail. Well, not necessarily a rail trail, but like
Oh,
Wood and
right.
Milford. I don't know how familiar you are with
Right.
some other
Yeah.
paved, just, fairly
I
narrow.
was thinking off-road,
Oh, they're not opposed to that either.
yeah. Or like a walking trail, like a more natural thing.
It's got enough gravel on it to drive trucks on it, it's probably gonna be pretty
But
stable,
it's
so
pretty
it won't be
stable.
muddy at least, you know?
Right.
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 That's the thought, is to stabilize it nice when you get a nice paved road and you get the washouts and the runoff, and then you can mold and seed the sides, but they're not opposed to that. And I don't necessarily think with this filing, we need to figure that out tonight. We have a year to do that, if it's conditioned that, hey, when you do know that final
Right,
plan, can you come talk to us?
right.
You've been there.
Yeah.
Megan, have you been there?
What?
Have you been to that gravel road?
No, I got lost.
Okay. Do you wanna see it?
Yeah, I should probably go check it out.
Okay.
Yeah, I can do it.
All right.
Is it accessible
Yeah.
to go to any time, or is it like locked or
Well, there's a gate, but you can walk around.
walk around it?
Yeah.
Okay.
the
I can
only
show
thing
you
is-
where it is.
Okay.
If you wanna
I-
work out it.
I think I didn't go apparently far enough down the left.
It is a little,
You have to go all
from
the way
that
up the hill.
initial like cul-de-sac, when you're going straight up, you take a right, but then you continue up that way and you'll see a big garage kind of at the end, and it's
It's
off to the
off
left
to
of
the
that.
left.
There is
I'm
now
always happy to take my ride out there.
a gate as you come up into the project, because they're getting ready for leases and kind of building 1 and 2, they put a gate across. So if it's after work hours, that's likely to be closed. And then Saturdays, they work until noon Saturdays. If you were to do a Saturday morning, you would have access, so I'm not sure your schedule, but.
But I mean, if you all I think most of you all have seen it. So if we want to close it, I mean, I'm okay with closing it too.
Okay. They
As
would
long
like
as
to
it
be able
gets
to
to this,
continue
yeah.
using it.
Yeah. As long as if we get stabilized and, I mean,
All right, then, is there a motion to close?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's a vote. All right. Okay. So we have some other business to take care of tonight, too.
I've done that, Megan. so many times. Now I just follow the road and it usually gets me where I need to be.
Boy, this is your busy night, huh?
I know, I said, you know what, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna put everything on there. Sorry.
Might as well. Hey, no, it works good for me too.
All right, so the next item on our agenda is there was a request for a certificate of compliance for 2 Commerce Drive, Lot 3.
So this is the Ross Express lot, Commerce Drive.
That's the huge building in the back.
Huge building in the back, they've been up and running for, it's been a while now, probably a year and a half.
Okay.
I'd say. I did a site walk, the site looks great, did a complete as-built, it was built to plan. I'm sure you folks probably.
I think we need to take a look. You know, is the site freely accessible if we wanted to go there?
It is.
Like on a Saturday, we could do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about on like a Friday night?
Whatever,
Does it sound like a fun Friday
whatever
night?
floats your boat,
Okay, all right.
you know? Hey, I don't care. That's not my idea of a fun time,
I
but
know, but
in any event.
Saturdays and Sundays are pretty much off the table for me
Yeah,
at
I
this point.
understand. Well,
Yeah.
that's because you're gonna get boat.
Yeah.
All right, so what we'll do is, we'll just continue that, to give us time to take a look. And, you know, I don't think you even have to, come back at our next meeting, you know, we'll just take a look.
Okay, yeah, if there's any issue, I guess if you could just let me know
Sure.
via email for Jessica.
Maybe that same day, that Saturday, the 20th, when we're out at
Yeah.
St. Mark Street, cuts right there.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Next item is 7 Maria Avenue. We had issued an enforcement order to Mr. Goodman at our meeting. Actually, we had previously issued an enforcement order, and then we issued another order in which we imposed a fine of $100 a day, I think effective June 12th or the 13th. Jesse, why don't you fill us in on what you found out?
Sure, so I've had no contact with Mr. Goodman. I did receive an email from Ecotech, and they let me know that Mr. Goodman had been in contact with them, and that they were, you know, doing work and reviewing the site. That was, I mean, less than a month ago, because like you said, he probably got the notice on June 13th. It was a few days after that, and that is the only communication that has taken place regarding that.
Okay, so we have not received,
Yeah, we're still waiting for some sort of filing or
okay,
word or anything.
all right.
Yeah,
You know, that fine keeps accruing, so.
it does.
We'll see what he does. For 26 Albert Street, we had also previously issued an enforcement order. And I know, Travis, you were here when we discussed it. I read from the bylaws and the regulations. And I mean, I think the regulations and the bylaw is very specific. I think we appreciate the fact that you filed the notice of intent for that roadway or that gravel road. Our point was that it was not shown on the original plan, and it should have been. And I think it's about as clear a violation as you can find under the bylaw and the regulations. So, and unlike, it also talks about what I consider to be a mandatory fine. The language uses the words shall, not may, and under Mass law, shall is mandatory. It's not discretionary. So the question that we have to decide is what sort of fine. At least in my opinion, of course, I am certainly open to the comments from the other commissioners. The question is what sort of penalty needs to be imposed in this particular case. So.
I think one of the big questions was what would be the date that we would be measuring from.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And I still don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I don't either. You know, I mean, I believe, I've tried to pin down Gary on this, and I forget exactly when Gary went out there.
So the first time that he had actually been out and noticed that road was in early April.
Okay.
But at that point, you know, it had clearly already been being used for, you know, a number of
So I think the question is though, because we don't want to be arbitrary in terms of a penalty we issue, and so my thought is that the penalty would accrue from the date that the violation was first discovered. You know?
I mean, that's what makes the most sense to me, having it, especially if it goes to like appeal or something.
Right,
for
exactly.
Yeah, that's fair. That makes sense.
Yeah, exactly, and so, you know, the decision, it can't be arbitrary and capricious, there's gonna be, there has to be a, you know, factual basis for it. So, why don't we do this? Why don't we continue the hearing on the enforcement order and the assessment of the penalty until the 24th? We'll try to get some additional information, and then at that point, we can hopefully come up with an appropriate number, okay?
Yeah, I spoke to Gary about that, and we can definitely pin down the day that he had, you know, that inspection scheduled, and he was out there and he noticed that. Yeah, so then we have like an exact date to go on instead of me just saying, oh, it was the beginning. of
Yeah,
April.
could he provide like an email or something?
Yeah, I can
Just
certainly
like-
get something from him, right?
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, can I just say something?
Sure, please.
Do you need me back at that meeting? The only thing I guess I would say as you consider the fine and how you're gonna proceed is, we were pretty quick to respond. I understand your position that it was done without permit.
Mhm.
It's fair. But we were quick to respond and for the action we folks wanted to say.
And I think we'll take that into consideration too. All right, thanks. And then, I mean, it says, I think we've addressed the issue for 50 and 190 Washington Street
Yeah, I think I can
sufficiently.
take that off at this
So I think you
point.
can.
Yeah.
So, from our last meeting, I had told you that in a couple weeks, at that point, they were gonna go do work. They have done work to the basin, there's some photos, I don't know if you
Sure.
just
Yeah,
take a
great.
look at them.
Yeah,
There's only a couple copies, I apologize, but
That's all right.
mind sharing?
was there, I made a note about that we were supposed, unless I wrote it for the wrong thing, we're getting a restoration plan?
I think
The-
Yeah, because it was,
The problem was that there was
Is the
just,
sediment got
I
into
found that too.
yeah,
I know. It was shocking.
A lot of stone in there.
Yeah, so those are basically the riprap placed at the inlets that provide a sediment forebay essentially that weren't constructed at the time. The last two photos are of a riprap swale, which I did observe myself, and it seemed to be functioning very well. So kind of happy with that work that they've done. So.
I mean, I think the
much
reality
better.
is that
Look at
if you want to determine how well it's working, you have to go out there during a storm event.
It was.
Yeah.
It
So,
was raining.
all right,
Not terribly hard, but that's all I had to do.
okay.
I think this was,
I think those are all,
those are earlier ones.
yes.
I've had them for a long time.
Any other questions?
This was the later one. I have a whole bunch of them.
Okay. I think we're good. Okay? All right.
Okay, I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Travis.
Thank you.
Okay. So, we have to update our signatures?
Oh,
Yeah, I
I
have
was just there.
fancy.
Oh.
Okay, so you just need
I
us to
think-
sign, right?
Do you want me to
I'm
sign
assuming
everybody's?
so. I didn't
like
know
I did
if
the
you would
last
need
time?
to. I
then
think you're
start
fine if
swearing?
you just sign again. Like you don't need to take another vote, right? I didn't know with it being different members if you needed to vote again.
I don't think so.
It works for me. If you want to sign, I'll double check with Ginger's
Sign
on
everybody's, like-
vacation. She seems to have a better understanding of all the legalese stuff, so I'll make sure that it's good with her. And I have something else that I have to get recorded anyways, so I'll get that done.
Is there a specific color of ink that this needs to be?
I have a black pen. It's
Okay.
probably better.
Mine's purple, maybe that's
Oh,
not.
there are.
Um,
Yeah,
I
that's
think
okay.
I used blue too. I
Yeah.
don't know what color.
Well,
I'm not too worried about it.
yeah, me neither.
Thanks.
Okay, and then, wow, this is the longest meeting we've had in a while. The meeting minutes for May 22nd and June 12th are not that lengthy if you wanna get them done. I have no changes to the meeting minutes for May 22nd.
Move to accept the meeting minutes for the 22nd.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's a vote. And then finally, we have the meeting minutes from June 12th. I also don't have any changes for the meeting minutes of June 12th.
I make a motion, we accept the meeting minutes of June 12th.
I'll second that.
I abstain.
We're not here. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstentions?
Do we,
Do we have
do
enough
we have
names?
enough to,
We did. Yes, we did because Chris was here. There were 4 of us.
oh no, I meant to vote on.
Yeah, we have
Do
3.
we?
Yeah.
Okay, alright.
Yeah, that's fine. Regarding Marcos Mora, the request for determination for 6 Elizabeth Drive, is there a motion?
Make a motion, we issue a negative determination.
Is there a second?
A second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's a vote. And then for the road work being done at the intersection of Albert and Blaker Street, is there a motion? That's on the request for determination of applicability.
Make a motion, we issue a negative determination.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? That's a vote. If
God bless you.
Thank you.
I would actually like to defer a decision on the notice of intent for 26 Albert Street until our next meeting. We have enough time to make a decision on July 24th.
Okay.
Is that agreeable?
That's okay with me.
Okay.
That enforcement order is still in effect, right?
It is.
Yeah, okay.
It is. Okay, is there any new business? There being none, is there a motion to adjourn?
I say adjourn this meeting.
Is there a
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 It's a vote. All right, everyone, thank you very much.